Chapter 17. The Ones Who Never Felt the Fire. Avoidant attachment doesn't come from cruelty. It comes from absence. Most avoidant people weren't hit or hated. They were simply left alone in moments that should have held connection. Their caregivers fed them, clothed them, maybe even showed up at games or concerts. But when emotion entered the room, something shut down. The parent looked away. The touch stopped. The energy vanished. So they learned, quietly, early, and often, that need is weakness, that emotional expression is dangerous, that showing hunger for connection might cost them the one thing they fear more than anything, their independence. Avoidant people rarely think of themselves as wounded. They think of themselves as logical, independent, stable, and strong. But underneath that cool surface is a nervous system trained to run, not to lash out like the disorganized, not to grasp like the anxious, but to disappear, to minimize, to manage, to perform, to ghost. They are rewarded constantly for it. The world calls them low maintenance. It promotes their detachment as strength. They often become the most admired in a group, especially in early adult relationships. They hold the power because they don't need, and people chase what doesn't chase them back. But here's the quiet tragedy. Avoidant people often go their whole lives without ever feeling real love. They've trained their bodies not to need it, and their minds to explain it away. They'll say things like, I just don't get emotional, or I'm not the romantic type, or I care in my own way. And the truth is, they do care, deeply, but they don't know how to feel it. The circuits were never wired. They often marry, they often have children, and they often become successful in work, responsibility, and structured roles. But their partner will always feel a little bit alone. Their kids may sense something invisible between them. They may never say what they need, because even they don't know what it is. They never learned the language of warmth. They only know the language of control, distance, or performance. Avoidants are not the worst. They are not evil, but they are the most rewarded by a broken world, and the least likely to admit they're wounded. And that makes healing harder. Avoidants don't heal by becoming anxious. They don't need to chase or beg or cry their way into connection, but they do need to stop confusing performance with presence. They do need to ask someone they trust, how does my love feel to you? And listen without defensiveness. They need to recognize when they disappear, not physically, but emotionally. And they need to stop pretending their withdrawal is noble. They must risk letting someone all the way in, not to fix them, not to prove anything, just to be seen. Avoidants are not beyond redemption, but they must choose to stop rewarding themselves for staying untouched. Because real love does touch, and it leaves a mark, not of control, but of warmth. Not of performance, but of presence. Even for them, especially for them. Anticipatory avoidance, Mara is warm when she's present. On the phone, she listens, laughs, remembers details, shows care. Her words feel like a hand reaching across the distance. But when the phone rings and she doesn't answer, or a message goes unreturned, it isn't random. She has a reason ready. I'm busy. I'm tied up. Can't talk right now. And maybe she is. But beneath it, something else is at play. A nervous system wired to anticipate closeness as risk. She pulls back before the connection grows too real, before the vulnerability of needing or being needed can surface. She keeps the distance just enough to protect herself, even when part of her wants to lean in. It's not cruelty, it's survival. Anticipatory avoidance is her quiet strategy. Stay just beyond reach, stay safe, stay in control. The paradox is that she can be present and loving in bursts, which draws people closer. And yet, that same presence can trigger her own instinct to retreat. The more someone leans in, the more she unconsciously steps back. People don't see it coming. They feel confused, frustrated, even rejected. But it isn't personal. It's her nervous system running the script it learned long ago. Closeness is a risk, so step back before it even begins. This pattern is extremely common, not just in romantic relationships, but in friendships, coworkers, and family. Most people don't even realize that attachment influences platonic relationships because it's less obvious. There's no heartache, no breakups, no socially coded relationship rules. And yet the push-pull, the distancing, the anticipatory withdrawal, these all happen constantly. It's the quiet undercurrent of many relationships. Someone stays slightly out of reach, unconsciously testing whether closeness is safe. Anticipatory avoidance is a dance. It looks like inconsistency, unpredictability, or even disinterest. But it's not about the other person. It's about the internal architecture of fear, safety, and independence. The only way through it is awareness, reflection, and risk. Not forcing connection, not guilt tripping, not chasing, but choosing presence anyway, even when it's uncomfortable. But here's the raw truth. Avoidance isn't just a protective strategy, it's a disconnection from life. You can't numb one feeling without numbing them all. Joy, sorrow, desire, devotion. When you wall yourself off to avoid pain, you close the gate on the whole damn thing. Most avoidants don't even know what love actually feels like. They know how to perform safety, how to manage connection, how to show up when it's convenient. But deep in the body, the ember never truly catches. They've learned to run their whole life on low heat, pretending it's enough. But it's not. Healing doesn't come from learning to love another person. It begins when the avoidant stops pretending they're above the ache, when they sit still and let the silence come in, when they finally feel the grief that's been hiding under the surface, the grief of never having truly let someone in and never having been fully held themselves. That's the turning point. Not another relationship, not another delay tactic, not another mask of self-sufficiency, but choosing to risk presence, even if they don't say a word. If they stay put, feel the heat rise, and don't run. That's the beginning of healing. Not comfort, not relief, but finally, truth. And when that moment comes, no one needs to chase them anymore. They will come forward on their own, not to manage, but to connect. Some avoidant people, women included, may turn to sex as a way to access closeness they otherwise can't tolerate. It's not about manipulation or desire alone. It's the body seeking connection in the safest, most manageable way. Emotional intimacy can feel too risky, so physical intimacy becomes the bridge. On the surface, it looks like closeness, but underneath, the nervous system is still protecting itself. Over time, this pattern can teach the body that connection only comes in specific, limited ways, making other forms of vulnerability feel unsafe or unavailable. Understanding this is not judgment, it's recognition of how attachment and the nervous system shape behavior and desire.